Christian and Marshal Fulgium. What's up, guys?
What's
Hey,
up?
DJ. How you doing, brother?
Man, I'm good. Shit, dude, I haven't seen you. I don't think I've seen you since we last fought on that same card in like 2018.
Yeah, that'd be, 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
Three.
Yeah,
Almost.
no,
Shit.
2021.
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
2020 was paused for a while. So
It
it's like,
was,
yeah,
dude.
good,
I
but-
don't think it counted. Nobody aged.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's been a long time. I've been back. I think I saw you out one time. I didn't get a chance. I think it was like we was kind of raining outside. We were over in Bossier, and I saw you. I was like, man, I want to go get talked to. I think I stopped by, but I didn't get a chance to talk to you. But yeah, it's been a while. I don't get up here a lot.
I know, dude.
I have 3 little ones, so it's hard. Man.
Family man now. It's been a while, dude. So we all met each other probably, damn, it's almost been like 10 years ago. I feel like
Yeah, it's
almost
been-
that long.
yeah.
Maybe that long. Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
longer.
it's
Shit is
been-
longer, right?
Yeah, it's been long.
Yeah, like 09, right?
right
Yeah, it's
there.
longer
Yeah.
than that.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I wanted to know. So, Christian, you've been a pro MMA fighter, and you're still in the game. You're helping train fighters now, and then Marshall, you have a martial arts gym, and
Yes,
you
sir.
do that full time. Is this something you guys did early on, or is just something you got into later in life?
Go ahead.
I mean, for me, I watched him. It was just never. I don't know. I was so nervous to do martial arts, but he was doing them. He's much older than me. He's like 7 years older than me. Like 6 years.
Here it goes already.
6 years and some change. But I always watched him. But wrestling was the sport that I got into. That was
Okay.
kind of the closest to. I played football. I mean, we played baseball, but wrestling kind of stood out. I got into that really big in high school. But man, I didn't start boxing until I was 21, 22.
Okay.
So I was a little later to it. But he started, 1970 something?
Yeah, 1988 to be exact, bro. No, see, where we lived in the sticks. Well, back then it was the sticks. Now it's known as Benton. But there was nothing to do. I mean, you couldn't just, ride your bike up the street, I don't play game football. There's nobody lived out there.
Yeah.
So when I finally found something I'd like to do in '88, which was martial arts, which just at the time we called it karate, but it was really Tae Kwon Do. You were younger. I was 11, so that would have put you at 4. And then I just continued to train, and he would come in and watch, and then you did the football, basketball thing, baseball thing, soccer thing, ballet for a while. And I'm just kidding. But I mean, it kind of went back and forth. But after a while, when you got into wrestling in your sophomore year,
Yeah.
because at the time I was in school, Benton didn't have a wrestling team. So you come around, you got wrestling. We had kind of been wrestling, kind of a little bit in there somewhere, doing some kind of backyard jiu-jitsu stuff.
Jiu-jitsu was one of those martial arts that I feel like now looking back, there's a lot of guys that were full of it.
Yeah.
That said they had belts and they were in Japanese jiu-jitsu, and then you would train with these guys and you're like, but you didn't know any better then,
Yeah.
Now looking back, Shreveport Bossier just didn't have that. Now they have that now.
Yeah.
There's some guys here that are very legit that I've trained with.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about like coming up, when I was 13, we had a couple guys that were very, very white belt. They taught us a little bit of jiu-jitsu. And this was in the 90s. Nobody knew jiu-jitsu in the 90s. So, I mean, that was when the UFC was coming in.
Yeah.
93 was his senior year of high school. I remember we didn't get it until it was on Blockbuster, the tape. It came out in 94, and we got to watch it. And then
We watched it over and over and over. We burnt that tape up, man.
yeah. From then on out, I was like, man, I want to do something like that. Like you looked at things like that. So we always looked out for, to try to find jiu-jitsu, but it took a little while for Shreveport. Tae Kwon Do was really what you either boxed or you did karate or Tae Kwon Do.
Yeah.
They didn't really have
Well, I mean,
any
even
other forms of, competition as far as this,
That's right.
I guess, tough man contest.
That's right.
I mean, even 2010 or 2009, we were training together. Shit, there was no one doing jiu-jitsu. Hardly you and Bowtie and them. That was it, I think.
I came in, I was teaching jiu-jitsu, and I look back, and it's like I was a blue belt.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I
You're a blue belt.
teaching jiu-jitsu, but I remember driving to Lafayette in 2004 to Michael Lopez's place where Tim's new gym that he moved to is now. It's a huge facility. They call it Gladiators HQ. Michael Lopez was there. He was a purple belt, and I was like the only dude within a 5-hour distance that we could get to.
Yeah,
And
right.
I was being excited, like, you're going to learn from this guy. But yeah, I felt like Shreveport Bossier was kind of behind the times a little bit on that. Now, we had the boxing. There was a lot of guys here that had a lot of good boxing, and there were a lot of stand-up martial arts. But I think John Dukas was in jiu-jitsu at that time. I remember that was the only guy there.
Yeah, our jiu-jitsu, like you said, in the 90s when we first came into the game, our jiu-jitsu was you watch something on TV and then you grabbed your buddy and you went, okay, does this choke you?
Yeah.
You know, and if he couldn't answer you, then you knew it was choking him. So yeah, it was crazy, bro. Yeah, I mean.
But yeah, it would have to have been in 2010 because I moved down. I was on a skid and we moved up to Bossier.
Yeah.
And we did the cage.
Yeah, the MTV cage stuff. Yeah.
So that had to have been in 2000, right around late 2009, 2010.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's been a while. That was when they shot the pilot. And I remember being up there, and I had to working with Donnie was there at the time. There's a lot of other guys like Kendrick who's still in the game too.
Danger,
everybody. Matt Schnell, Tony Kelly, who's having a pretty successful run right now into it. We always thought he had the talent. I mean, it was just a ways before he made it. But man, when he got on, he's definitely impressed.
Yeah,
a lot of talent came out of that gym. You know,
yeah, for sure.
Really did it. Well, it's funny because you guys started, or was it just you, or were you helping? I can't remember.
We both started
teaching Tae Kwon Do in the back.
I did
of that gym.
So that was how Benton Martial Arts got started.
Yeah.
Was you had the pro fighters out there, and they were working out and all that, and you said, look, we got a place in the back. It's a little rough around the edges. And I said, okay. And I walked in the back, and I was looking around, and it was like first part of June. That's not too hot back here. And then it got hot, and we actually had some kids stick around, dude. But I'm telling you what, that was a very unique time because there was a lot of talent in that gym, a lot of talent, and a lot of things that come out from that for sure.
Yeah, it's been interesting because like you actually trained me my first fight camp, my first legit MMA fight camp. We had done some boxing matches, but Donnie had to go away for a while, and you took the gym over, and it's just been crazy to see what everyone's done since then. You know?
Yes. Well, I feel like in fights and even like the sport itself, things move really fast. It's like it goes quick. You see guys here, then they're here. I mean, I'm in South Louisiana, I own stuff now. It's a little bit more laid back. I have kids, but kids classes and programs that we run, but we also have like 40-something fighters that are on our roster between the 4 gladiators, and it's definitely one of those things that just moves fast. Like our dates are we're April 23rd, we're May 8th in Biloxi, we're May 15th back in Biloxi, we're May 28th, we're for AKA in Baton Rouge, and then we're May 29th, we have smokers for all of our young guys.
I've been seeing that, the kickboxing stuff on the weekends.
So everything to me just feels like it's moving, it moves fast. So when you look back 10 years, it's a long time in this game to be around some of these guys, you know. See what they have accomplished. Like Danger being the little goofy kid, which I like to make fun of him all the time. I talked to him on the way up here. I told him I was going to do a podcast, and he said that like wouldn't listen to me. So I feel like I could take shots at him, but he's coming up here. He's a commentator for AKA now, and he's a commentator, and he's fighting the UFC. He's top 10 in the world at 125. You see guys like Tony, and if you go back and look at the show, they look like little runts. You know?
I don't know, man. Everyone was young like
they're little babies, you know. But they were very dangerous little individuals at the time.
The Danger doesn't age at all, though.
No,
he still looks
for sure
very, very debonair.
He does, yeah, because we started then probably. I had no experience. I just walked in that gym just because I thought it looked cool.
Yeah.
And those guys,
that's how we got to get started.
Yeah, that's how we got started
for sure.
The Andrea was like 2 weeks behind me.
Yeah.
You know, and now she's at the elite level in the UFC. It's just crazy to see all this evolve. And I was like always half-assed in it, but I still like to be involved in it.
Oh, yeah.
My thing was the stand-up thing was something I preferred more than the ground thing.
For sure.
But I think a lot of us at that gym, that was our bread and butter for a long time.
You know, and I've known Donnie very well. So I would say to him, you know, although there was, you know, issues of consistency, had to go away for a little while and stuff like that, you know, he always had a really good pedigree in his stand-up. His kickboxing was world class. And, you know, people move on from other things. They don't work with people as much anymore. He's maybe not in coaching as much anymore. But, I mean, he was good. There is a reason why I wanted to be around him. I felt like he could train guys at a very, very high level in kickboxing and then for the boxing. You know, different dude, man, but he was very, very, very talented. I remember watching him when I was 13 years old and thinking, good Lord, this dude's a machine, you know, like the way he used to be. So they had a lot of guys, and you know, he kind of let into it. You look at Andrea's style; it's a lot of Donnie in there.
Yeah, it really is.
Matt Schnell, like I worked a lot of pads and stuff with him, but he's still got a lot of that any two. Tony for sure. Tony was with Donnie.
Tony was on there from day one.
He was on the couch shit when he was younger. You know, so like, I mean, he spent a lot of times over to Kendrick. You see, he's still fighting. You know, he spent a lot of time with him too. So he did have a good, very good stand-up pedigree, man. And it led us to a lot of guys that you know went pretty far.
Yeah, I think it's just funny to see all that, like what it's become, and still it's just cool to be a part of it, you know.
Yeah.
But we lost a lot of good people along the way too. You know, there's a lot of people there that I wish I would have seen move forward that just kind of got their head into something else and went a different direction.
Well, the MTV shows, the one, you think, like, you know, I look back and it was a weird thing for me because I was just trying to coach a bunch of guys. I always liked coaching, even when I was fighting, I liked coaching. But yeah, you see those guys now, it was all about fighting, but they've all moved on. You know, like, and I still see John Wesley. I still see Wesley Branch I mean, on Facebook and stuff. Every time I see him, I think I saw him at a fight not too long back, and I shook his hand. Hadn't seen him in a long time neither.
No.
But, you know, we lost Jeremy, you know, Jeremy Moore that was on.
And I know
he
Jeremy
was one of the guys that was in the gym. He was a tough guy.
Jeremy
he could
was,
fight.
Yeah.
I liked it. He had a great personality to him. He was definitely a guy you wanted on your team.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, we always told it like it is. It was.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, this is what it is, and this is how, you know, this is how.
I miss guys like that, you know,
Yeah.
like we lost him or whatever. That was but I remember him being at the gym all the time. He was always kind of one of those he'd get you pumped up kind of guys.
Oh, yeah, he hyped everybody, bro.
I liked him. Always liked him.
The funniest thing, the best story I remember about him, what was really a story, just like tidbit of, you know, at the end of training one day, he was leaving because he and I both were in the oil and gas, in the oil field. And so I'd train a week, and I wouldn't be there for 2 weeks or whatever, and he'd be the same way. And he was leaving one day because he had to leave to go off hitch, and I was getting off work, coming in, and he's like, I don't remember who it was, but someone was in there, he'd been sparring, he's like, dude, that dude's fucking beating up on this other dude, and I don't have time to get in there and whoop his ass. Get in there and fucking whoop his ass real quick, and, you know, put him in his place, because he's up in, you know what I mean? I don't remember who it was. It was so long ago.
You have the police that happens in gyms all the time.
Dude, it does happen.
The universal language of martial arts.
Yeah.
That's what I learned out of that gym as well, was just because you're around a bunch of guys that are fighting, it's the same rules. You're going to have that guy that kind of comes in and helps dictate. You're going to need the hammer. Every gym's got a hammer, and I think that gym had 4 or 5 hammers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
A bunch of hammers, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of hammers in there, and you definitely do want to do the nail. But, you know, to that point of martial arts is a long journey of attrition.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be that way. And that's the thing, man. You remember a lot of people through the years. Like, one of my favorite Donnie stories was Donnie was getting ready for a fight, and he called me one day, and he said, hey, I need somebody your weight to spar. And I said, sure. And I had a little club out in Houghton, and I said, sure, absolutely. And so he walks in, man, and that's the first time in my life where I'd ever been in a sparring situation with a world-class boxer.
Yeah.
And I knew right away, I tell this story to this day to my students, that if you think you're a kicker and you're going to walk in and show a boxer how it's done, you're insane. You need to learn how to throw these hands like you throw those feet.
Yeah.
And that let me know right away that I love that's why I love martial arts.
Yeah.
Because in that gym and in those days, you could see what clearly worked. I could walk in and see what clearly worked right away. And I could see where the fake had to leave the door. You know, at the door you had to leave the fake at the door. And that's what that was the issue to me, and still is with martial arts. There's a lot of fake out there. So it's just nice to be around it was nice to be around, you know, a bunch of guys that were
I think
real.
those gyms kind of create that though, because they're not. You see jiu-jitsu gyms, which Karate Mafia, I don't know if it's still going or not.
No.
Karate Mafia was not a jiu-jitsu gym. So
Right.
if you see gyms that aren't belt-driven, and that doesn't mean a bad thing. That doesn't mean bad thing. I take a lot of pride in having a black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I feel like I earned it. I learned a long time taking ass whippings to get that thing. But it wasn't belt driven, so everybody looked alike. You had guys with tattoos, you had nerds in there, you had, but nobody really knew what anybody had. So I felt like it was a proving thing a lot of times. It made training hardcore at times, but I think it breeds a lot of tough individuals. You know, and like I'll take nothing away from belts, but I feel like gyms like that they do that. Coming from gladiators, like when I got there and I talked to Donnie, we were going to go in half in Karate Mafia. I liked what we had at Gladiators, the old school Gladiators, because you guys like Dustin Poirier, who just beat me up Tuesday, so it's fun to start training back with him a little bit. The guys like Tim Crater, Kyle Bradley would come through there. Guys like Sean Jordan. There was a lot of guys back then that rotated and then go to North Louisiana to see that they had guys that were like ready to do that too. You knew this MMA thing was really growing here, and like it's caught up. Like Wayne's done a great job. I don't know if they're rivals or not, but Brent Mason and Chad Atlanta, they're together. I don't know if they're rivals, but they're both good jiu-jitsu practitioners. They're both good gyms. They're both guys that have talented people. Brent was a very talented guy before MMA really got going, but he's training guys like Derek Krantz, who's no doubt about him. He's a very talented individual himself.
For sure.
I fought him, and I don't want to fight him. I fought him way back.
I didn't know that.
Right, 04?
In the Hirsch day. No, it was 07. 07.
I couldn't have been 07. I turned pro.
No, I'm sorry. You're right. 05, 06. Right around there.
Okay, so amateur
It
days.
was an amateur day. I think he was 18.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
That was
a long time ago. But
somebody tapped, somebody didn't tap. We don't remember.
I remember at the time, like it was such a big deal because he was kind of a mean dude. He was just a little full of piss vinegar. Now I've known Derek for a long time. I'm a huge fan of his. And his grappling has become
a good dude.
Insane too. He fights tonight.
Yeah, he fights tonight at AKA.
That's right.
And it's crazy what that organization has done, and we're all been some part of that. Now it's on UFC Fight Pass, and
that's right.
The shit's just coming together, man. Just years and years of everyone grinding. I think in this area and the state as a whole.
Yeah,
I think there's been organizations here that have made people mad.
Yeah, of course,
and they've really done things. And I think Amber and John have done a good job of not like pissing a whole bunch of people off,
for sure.
Playing in the middle, not. Because I remember Ascend, we had problems with Ring Rulers. Yeah. Even though I really get along with Will Rules, there was a lot of people that did not like that organization. They wound up getting in trouble with the committee. I think there was, I don't even want to get in the middle of that.
No,
but these organizations, I feel like they could have been really successful here, but they always wound up pissing people off and stuff. And I think she's done a great job. Georgetown's one of their matchmakers. He's been in the game a long time. I love GT, bro. Yeah, he's been in the game. He's my boxing coach for a while.
Really?
Yeah, one of the funniest dudes ever.
Dude's great.
Yeah, make you mad, but yeah, he for sure can get you boxing. But yeah, he was an undefeated Angola pro boxer, or he was a prison boxer. That's where his boxing pedigree came from.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, dude, he went all over the South beating people up.
That's what's up.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, so those teeth that are gone were earned, bro.
For sure. He probably didn't get much. Like he said that you ate good. He said you ate really good. You got to travel a little bit, which was getting out at the time.
Yeah.
GT's if you ever sit down and talk to him, he's got some crazy stories.
Yeah, I have to get him on here one day. Yeah,
it's funny.
Yeah,
he's a trip. But no, man, it's funny because we've done we're talking back to the gym real quick. I don't harp on that forever, but it's been so long since and I haven't really got to sit down and talk to someone about all these things and all these people. But we didn't practice jiu-jitsu hardly at all until you come in. But not only that, you brought in tech sparring. We never tech sparred until you come in.
Yeah,
because we would just say. You remember the old routine when you get there: jump rope, shadow box, hit the bags, spar. Every fucking day, man.
Yeah.
I realized because if you're the best guy in your camp, sometimes sparring's really fun.
Yeah.
And it's great. Maybe if you're the best two dudes in your gym because you only have like one hard round.
Yeah. Right.
But I never had that problem because I had guys that beat the shit out of me all the time.
Dude, Chad used to beat the shit out of all of us.
I remember Tim at the time he was so much further advanced than we were, and he would just just beat us to death. And I realized tech sparring for guys that were not one of the top two best in the gym at the time would build you a little bit, and you got to get guys to where they don't become gun shy so early. Because if hey man, I want to try boxing or kickboxing, well 2 weeks later you got a serious concussion. I don't know if I really want to do this. I've watched and he, I tell it to him to this day. I was there in 2008 in Gladiators when they opened up, and that's what it was. You sign a waiver, you put gloves on, and people got beat up. And I remember that, and there were so many guys that had some talent that just never came back because. Who the hell is going to show up for that all the time? No, but at the time I was fighting, I was getting paid to do it, so I was like, "Well, I got to be ready.
I got to do this."
But just to sign up and just do this for free, no. Bro,
but as a gym though, because you grew up in the environment I grew up in, we had an instructor Benny Broadway. He was French, and he was very French at times, and he was the main man. He was the main dude, and he beat everybody up. Everybody got a quote unquote ass whipping when he showed up. And because everybody got one equally, everybody felt like they got treated fairly. The next thing you know, you turn around and you got champions and world champions. You got Donnie in there training as well and getting his ass kicked along with everybody else.
Yeah.
And so that environment breeds other champions. And what I love about people that are starting up for real schools is that first generation of student, you got to do that. You got to figure out who's going to stick with me through all the butt beatings and who's not. The ones that you're going to trim the fat, right? And the couple that are left are going to make me great. And I'm telling you, man, that's when I heard you were down there with Tim and you would tell me the stuff you were doing, I'm like, that's exactly what my instructor did with us.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. That's the way to build. That's the way to build something. So.
Just kind of get it beat into you. Yeah, he's a very brutal. I'm glad I went through it. It made you strong. It made me, obviously, maybe not indestructible, but it made me impervious to criticism too.
Yeah.
Because his coaching style, and to this day, he's a great guy. He's a good friend of mine for sure. Like a brother to me.
Tim's good people.
And obviously a mentor.
Coach,
but
I
his
should say.
coaching style is not try to be nice, not worried about your feelings. But in this sport, I would tell anybody, whether you're wrestling, whether you're doing Tae Kwon Do, if you're doing individual sports and you have thin skin, they'll find it for you.
Yeah,
You know
of
what I'm
course.
saying? And you'll see that. And you've seen that in the gym when we're sparring. You'll see guys that get weak-minded or things that bother them. And I took all that in and just made it to where I'm like, shit, what you say? I don't care what anybody says.
Here's the thing about this is there's worse things in life than an ass whipping.
Yeah, dude, I mean,
Right.
If an ass whipping is all you got to worry about, partner, you got it easy.
But it's easy for us to say that because we've had, the people that have never experienced that, it's hard for them to fathom that. Like, these are three guys that hit people in the face for fun.
Yeah.
They don't know, but so it is, it's not that big of a deal.
But it's also, though, too, I always tell guys like that, like, you see a lot of guys that talk a lot of trash, but a lot of those guys that have been in there, like, you see them try to sell fights, but with each other, they're not like that. They have a bond with each other. There's something weird about, I always just tell Tim that, like, I don't know if I really want to be your friend, but I am your friend. Because at some points in time, I literally feel like you're trying to seriously hurt me. But we get off the mats and we're friends.
Yeah.
It's a weird bond. You don't have that bond with coworkers because you're not fighting coworkers.
Right.
You're sweating on each other. But I mean, it's like I've done some, try to hurt him physically, and a lot of those other guys like Dustin, he beats you up and he's your best friend when he gets off the mats. Like it's a wild bond to have, but those bonds are pretty strong.
It's hard to
those
explain
guys
that
you've
to
known
them.
for years. You'll see them. You're like, hey man,
Yeah.
what's up? Like you're still close to them.
It's hard to explain that too when you flip that switch. So like you go in there to spar and that switch flips and then you see a different look in someone's eyes.
It's
You know what I mean?
right.
You know what I'm talking about.
It's serious.
It's like,
It's
you know what I'm talking
serious.
about? And you see that and you're like, okay, shit, it's on.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And then we get done. You're both tired and beat up. You're like, okay, cool.
Here's the beer.
But it's so hard to explain that to people, man.
They always say that. It's like, man, because through the fights, I've fought friends. I fought guys that I tried out for the Ultimate Fighter with, and I was rooting for them. And then you fight these guys later on. It's like, but I've never had that problem fighting a friend because I could always. I got good at doing that. When you walk on the mats, all right, we're here. We're doing this. This is what we're doing. If you're my opponent that day, I'm trying to work and get better. If you're fighting me, I'm trying to win. Like we can be friends after. I'll shake your hand, but I have no problems fighting my friends because I felt like the environment we were causing. We were fighting each other every day. We were hurt. There was guys getting. Pretty bloodied up, but we were all kind of still cool afterwards. We were all hung out.
Iron sharpens iron, my friend.
Yeah, we were a close
Iron
group.
sharpens iron.
Well, and you have so when you're first in it, like you're a new amateur, you maybe have one fight, maybe two, maybe none yet.
Yeah.
It's different because you go in there trying to prove something.
That's right.
And so, but once you have skin in the game, then you can be that way. I feel like
That's right. You can relax because then and that's the same thing too. I get a lot of opinions from people. I do, and like it's great. But if you hadn't got in there and got in a fight before, if you haven't prepared for one before, if you haven't had to answer for the trash you've talked before, then I don't really trust your opinion that much. You know what I'm saying? Like I always tell, I don't care if you fought on an amateur level, if you've had to go in there in an individual sport. I think high level wrestlers are the same way, or guys that wrestle at these college levels. I think it's too because it's individual. It's a grinding sport. If you haven't done that before, I don't really respect like a lot of times what they say.
Yeah, I agree.
Because they don't know, they haven't had to answer for what they're talking about. Everybody can armchair quarterback. It's like me in football. That quarterback sucks. No, he doesn't. He's one of the best 32 quarterbacks in the world, and he gets paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
He doesn't suck.
Well, here's what always comes into play when I talk to somebody who fights for a living or does martial arts for real for a living is people think all the time that if you're a fighter, if you get in the ring, you're a jerk, right? You're one of those guys. That's not true. The most badass people in the world that I know, you, right, yourself included, right, are down to earth people. They're for real people because they've been there and done it. It's the ones that haven't, that have got that attitude because they really haven't been there. For sure, haven't. I mean, you're going to find crazy people everywhere, but I'm talking about for real, right? But for real people, like Tim Crater. I mean, I know you said for years he was crazy and all this, but when I met Coach Crater, I call him Coach. When I met Coach Crater the first time, he's just a nice dude. He walked up to me, he said, "You're a Fulgium, you're a friend of mine."
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, that's something he didn't have to say. We were at his school, but he walked up, gave me a hug. He said, "Hey, man, I'm so glad to meet you."
Yes.
And I thought to myself, I know that switch could flip any time, right? But at the same time, he's a down to earth dude. When people ask me, your brother's a pro fighter or whatever, he's a down to earth. He's a Fulgium and he's a retard half the time, if I can say that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But I mean, he's always gonna be a little bro. But if you meet him, and you talk to him, nice guy. You know what I'm saying? And people don't understand that because they haven't been in that.
Well, I don't want to train with guys that aren't like that neither. At the end of the day, like, those are the guys you wind up hanging out with. So, like, you are who you're around all the time. I own a gym. You own a gym. So you're around those people all the time. And then you're fighting. You're going to these fights. So you're around them all the time. It's like we have two that are fighting for us tonight. And they're very, very good. AJ has a ceiling that's very, very
I'm
high.
excited to see that one.
He's one of the most explosive, athletic guys I've ever seen, and he's one of the only guys I can honestly tell you that can watch a video and then go mimic that there.
Really,
He can. That's how
Must be
athletic he
nice.
is. And I get to spar with. I work a lot of pads with him, but if you ever just sat down and talked with him, he is not like you would not. He's not a fighter.
Yeah.
Unless you saw him. But if you listen to his voice and how he talks and present. They're almost like badass nerds, is what they are nowadays. I get these kids all the time. You look at them, and you're like, I don't know about this kid. And then he beats the crap. You're like, all right, well, I guess he could fight. Looks way different.
The last time Aiden and Madeline went down and worked out with you guys, AJ was there, and I saw the video and all that. And I said, Christian, did you get a chance? Or Christian, Aiden, did you get a chance to meet AJ? He goes, let me tell you something, man. He's a really nice guy.
Yeah.
But I'm watching the video. I'm like, that right hand looked nice. You know what I'm saying?
he's got a video game channel. So my son, who's 10, he's been in jiu-jitsu for a while. He's competing a lot now, but he doesn't understand like certain guys are really good. He looks at them all like they're just fighters and they're really good.
Okay.
But he doesn't understand what. So his thing is that AJ is one of his favorites, not because AJ's a great fighter, but because he has his own Twitch account. And he plays video games online. And he'll watch his videos. He's subscribed to it, and he's good at video games. I'm like, all right, okay. And so you never understand. Like, I guess our gym was way more hardcore. Though I've never had tattoos, I'm just scared of needles and midgets. That's my two main things. I don't deal with. So tattoos will never be in
that order.
Our ball game. But everybody in there was kind of more hardcore. I felt like that was with the mid 2000s into it.
Yeah,
and now you've seen a lot of guys that they're not that. Like AJ doesn't have a tattoo. I never fought a dude that didn't have a tattoo. I was always the kind of weird guy, Like I always felt that way. I was like, man, I could get one, but I can't do it, bro. I can't do needles.
I'm still down for that dolphin tattoo, bro. I want to be there. I want to be there to film that when that happens.
Well, there's something I did want to mention. I took one of your combos that I remember to this day into a lot of my boxing, and even it was really effective that last fight. If had I not got submitted because my jiu-jitsu sucks ass, but it is what it is. I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy jiu-jitsu. I respect it.
Yeah,
I love it for what it is, but I'm just not patient. I guess, or I know that it's a long, and I would rather just get in there and box. I think
It's too hard.
But that 1-3, bro, that 1-3-1.
Yeah.
To this day, I remember you showed me that combo because it was so unorthodox, and I actually got to use it in a fight, and it was effective. Because most people, after you throw a 1, and for people who are listening or watching who doesn't know what that means, a 1 is a jab. If you're right-handed, it would be your left hand, and then there's 2 is a right, and a 3 is a hook. Most people throw a 1 and then a 2.
That's right.
They don't throw a 1, a 3, and they damn sure don't throw another 1 behind it.
That's right.
And so to this day, I still remember that. And anybody, if I'm ever helping box, I try to show them that combo, and I always tell them that come from you.
That's awesome, man. I'm glad, dude.
I've never had to tell you that.
I appreciate you. I take much pride in coaching and showing things that I have learned. Like that's one thing. Like I'm going to fight again. I'm in the midst of trying to get an opponent right now for something kind of big going on. But for no matter what, I'll always be coaching. So I mean, I appreciate that. I worked with a lot of guys, and I do one thing about coaching is I take it serious, you know, and I really want my guys to win. So if any time I've helped somebody out along the way, man, I really appreciate you telling me that.
That and the fucking weight cut for that first fight I did. I don't know if you remember that because you've coached a lot of people since then, but we were in Alexandria, Louisiana. We went to weigh in a mall.
Yep.
And I was 1 pound or 2 pounds over. Still, this is the first weight cut I'd ever done because boxing, I just walked in and boxed and didn't have to cut any weight. And
they slide a lot more. I found that. Yeah. I didn't know that until I went to something. Oh, you're good. I'm like, what?
It was fucking 98 degrees outside in the middle of August, and I had to put a trash bag on and run outside in the parking lot, in the mall parking lot to cut that. And I was so miserable, dude.
And you know, people
that was the worst weight cut. Yeah, dude, it was this fucking dude in a trash bag running through the. You know, like that was the worst weight cut I ever had because it was the first one I ever had. You know, I'm sure everyone who has fought and cut weight for wrestling or or any fight like can relate to that one horrible weight cut.
Well, it's stories like that because I wasn't there, but I heard that story, and I was like, oh my god, that must have sucked. Is when you're in the crowd and you're watching this, and somebody's sitting beside you, who's had 1 or 2 Coors Light too many, say, these guys suck. They didn't even want to fight, bro. You don't even know what it took for that guy to get into the ring.
Yeah,
shut your face.
So in 2000. I think it must have been 2009. 2009 for the Ultimate Fighter.
Okay.
If you rewind, you go back to the tryouts in Chicago when I'm standing outside in a freaking windbreaker and it's 22 degrees. Just got off the plane and there's 2,000 people outside this hotel. So you try out and fast forward, they bring me back out. They do medicals and everything, and then they call me like a week or 2 later. They say you didn't make it. We might use an alternate, but we'll kind of be back in contact with you. Then when I did contact them back, they said you didn't make it. Well, they called me 2 weeks before the show. I'm 44.2 pounds out.
Shit.
14 days before to be there, right, for weigh-ins. And when I missed weight for the Ultimate Fighter, I was 1.2 pounds off.
Holy shit, dude.
That was the worst weight cut.
How much? Okay, so you had how long? 2 weeks?
2 weeks
to cut
44.
Holy shit.
44.2.
Yeah.
And I missed it by 1.2.
Dude, you didn't look like yourself. I saw you on TV.
I wound up in the Vegas hospital for a while because of kidney failure.
Yeah, I fucking bet. Like, because I remember, that's another thing that we could go into. Like, the weight cut's different now.
Yes.
The knowledge is different.
That's right.
We would kill ourselves. That last fight camp I had, the very last fight I fought, and the only reason I fought is because Jeremy passed away, and I wanted to be on that card. You know, it was memorable to me, and I was like, I'm gonna do it one more time before I turn 30.
Yeah.
But I cut 50 pounds, but I had 2.5 months to do it, and it almost fucking killed me. 2 weeks, dude. I cannot imagine.
I learned at that. Well, I didn't learn my lesson all the way. I kind of got back to cutting, but now we're all of our guys. It's 8 to 10%. Mm-hmm. So if you're 170, you can't weigh more than 187.
That's where we used to mess up.
Yeah, and then I would come to fight at 170. I would come from 210. 3 or 4 weeks out. Yeah, and I think it took a lot of fights out of me. Now I'm glad we're smarter now. It's a lot less stress on you too, because I tell people like fighting and even losing some fights, just preparing for it. Some of the best time in your life, you like to compete. But some of the worst times of my life have been in a sauna, thinking to God, like, why am I doing this? Why do I want to do this with my life? Those
last 4 pounds, bro. Those last 4 pounds, man.
Like that, for sure.
But I mean, I remember walking to that gym. Donnie looked at me. I was probably like 220 something pounds. He's like, "You're gonna fight at 185." I was like, "What the fuck?" And I should have not. You know what I mean? Like,
but that's just Donnie being real. He was people size him up, and he had a good eye for doing that.
I mean, it worked. It just took a long time to get there. Yeah. But
during that time, you in one of the casinos there, you walked right by me. I didn't recognize you.
Yeah.
You walked right by me and you said, "Hey, big guy," and I turned around and I looked right past you and I went, "That's my brother." And you went, "Hey." Yeah. You had a hat on, and I went, "Holy crap!" That was the first time I think since you were 5 years old that I weighed more. Yeah. That I weighed more than you. I mean, it was crazy.
I don't.
It wasn't by much. But,
I'm competing again, but I compete at 175. So that's an easy one to make for me. Anything 170, under 170, I don't think I could make anymore. I don't think realistically I could make. Without seriously changing my whole thing. I don't like doing that later in life. I want to keep as much muscle mass as I can, so I want to fight at a healthy weight class. I want to keep cutting it down.
What have you done? So when's the last fight you had? 2018.
Did not have a good fight.
Was that the one that we were on?
Yeah.
AKA it was in July?
Not good. bumming the hip pretty good. Got beat up. I went through a few years where I was trying to train some guys who were top level, and we went through the cage thing. I spent a lot of time with somebody, and those guys wound up leaving and moving on.
Yeah.
And I got somebody else, which is a whole nother story. I spent a lot of time with a heavyweight who got into some very bad legal trouble.
Okay.
And had no idea that he was going to get. So I spent a lot of time coaching. That's why I always tell people I take it serious. So, I spent like 3 or 4 years getting this guy in shape. Thought he had the next level. So I don't think I gave myself a lot of. Like when you coach something and you're pushing people, you don't push yourself as hard. Mm-hmm. Your time kind of gets pushed back.
That's right.
And it's not that I have these delusions that I'm going to go on this run and bare knuckle and go and kill everybody, which, in my truck by myself I do.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to talk about that now. But I've got 3 or 4 in me. I think I have the time now because I don't have a guy that's a pro fighter we're trying to push to the Contender Series and do these bigger. I know I work with AJ a little bit, but it's a part-time thing. I have a lot more time to myself now, so I'm putting a lot into it. I'm excited about it. I think you don't do yourself justice if you put yourself. What Ron Swanson say? Don't half-ass 2 things, whole-ass one thing, and that's what I'm going to focus on doing.
That makes
I feel
sense.
like I give myself a better chance.
I agree because you've always been coaching a lot of people. Like you've always had a lot of time in coaching the past 10 years that I've known you, and when you were competing, I agree. I can see where that takes a toll on your camp because you're worried about everyone else's.
That's right. And I don't want to fight on cards with a bunch of guys that do train, but I'll always want to train and be around it. If tomorrow they said, hey man, you're not, you can't pass the physical, you can't fight, I would be in the gym somewhere training with somebody or holding pads for somebody, teaching classes somewhere. I love jiu-jitsu, but I'm kind of like that too. A lot of people that are diehard jiu-jitsu buddies of mine, they kind of look at me like, because in 2008 we want to get belts. That's what we did. We were out there with our gis on, and we never fought in gis. I always fought with no shirt on. So these guys would belt up, and I felt like I was just as good as they were. But you look back, you're trying to learn 2 different martial arts, and I fell in love with striking. I fell in love with kickboxing. I fell really in love with boxing. It's something that I probably watch at least an hour a day of videos on, whether it's before I go to sleep or when I'm waking up and I'm at the gym. I'm trying to stretch out and stuff. I'm watching videos, so I fell in love with it. I'm kind of obsessed with it now, so that's why I want to compete in a boxing match, professional boxing match before it's too late.
Makes sense. No, I share that enthusiasm with you because I just for some reason it just everything's different for everyone. Everyone has their outlet.
That's right.
Maybe jiu-jitsu, maybe wrestling, maybe MMA in itself. Mm-hmm. And for me, it was always boxing and a little bit of kickboxing when I finally figured out how to kick.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a good tool. It's a good tool to have.
It is,
changes
man.
The game for sure.
It does.
No, he's spent a lot of time. He's worked with me on that. In fact, you see a lot of guys now. It's kind of weird because everybody says, I know you work with Jake, right?
Yeah,
so Jake's got a really good rapport boxing, but that's a little different. That name brand's there. Like kickboxing's a little different. There's no ranks around here.
Yeah.
A lot of guys have different versions. So it's never, when you hear guys in these gyms, we're teaching Muay Thai kickboxing. We might have said that at gyms that I've taught, but we're really teaching a really big mixture of American kickboxing, Dutch style, and Muay Thai, and they're all molded together to better not being taken down, which is a different set of rules for MMA. So I really feel like we have a lot of guys that were really good at striking around here that kind of cultivated I don't know what you would call it. It'd be hard to name it.
Yeah, I don't know what you call it.
You see what I'm saying? It'd be hard to. Tim always names it something white trash because he says that's where he teaches at the white trash mecca. But I feel like that stand-up, there's a lot of guys. Dustin Poirier came out of that thing. You see Matt Schnell come out. Tony Kelly's always had good stand-up. Donnie was a big part of that.
Dude, Tony and Matt.
Jay DeMint has a lot of guys that he's worked with, which is a super nice guy. I always really respected him. Out of all the crazy people I knew, I know he's not like a crazy. He's like a fun crazy. He never, though he probably could. He never acted like or thought he was going to beat me up or anything like that. Jake's just always been a really nice guy, but he's worked with a lot of kids too.
Yes, he's doing a lot for those young kids, man, and they've progressed. And and it's just
he's going to have some world class talent. Jake will definitely cultivate some of that.
For sure.
I agree. I think and it's funny you mentioned like Matt's last fight. Dude, holy shit! His strike, dude. It was beautiful. Like I was fanboying him. I told him straight up. Like, I waited till I saw him last fight. I was like, dude, that shit was beautiful. Like it just was like so on point, and I was so proud of him because they said that opponent was going to beat his ass. Well, everyone said that. And I was like,
I
dude,
talked to him 2 weeks before that fight, and I'll give him credit. Obviously, his coaches that he's working with are real good with him, and they're on the same page because they knew Nam was going to be a power puncher, but he knew he could land 3-1. And that's what he did. He went out there and he outboxed the guy, landed 3-1, put combinations together, it looked really crisp. And I'll be honest, and I'm not taking nothing away from a match now, or I wouldn't take away from any good heavyweight neither. But those two weight classes are unicorns.
Yeah, they are.
If you can mess around and go 500, you can be in the top 10, top 15, and have a legit shot to get on a run and go to a title fight. So I think he's got a shot. He's got a tough opponent coming up. But I really believe, I think he got caught by Pantoja, and he'll tell you that. He got caught with this.
But everybody gets caught, man.
That's right. But I really believe he has the talent to maybe fight for a world title one day.
Yeah,
I believe he does.
I completely agree. I think he does. I think Tony does. I think Andrew's on a good track now. I think all of them do. They have the potential and they have the talent.
I cornered Andrea. I've only cornered her a handful of times. One story I have of cornering her was when her first boxing match ever, and she lost her glasses. So somebody had to grab her hand. Me and Donnie would grab her hand and walk her to the ring, and then her first match, she got dropped twice in the first round, and then she got up and just killed the girl.
I forgot about that. Holy
was
shit,
in
I remember
Lafayette.
that.
We went down to
that was in
Lafayette.
Lafayette. We were fighting that tournament.
That's right.
We were all fighting
her
there.
glass. She was like this.
Yes, I forgot about
And
that.
I remember, I was like,
that was my first boxing
this girl's
tournament.
pretty tough, but we're going to have to give her some goggles or something that she can keep them. Because, Andrea's kind of, she's just Andrea. She's she's a free bird, in her mind. And she wasn't even really that bothered by it, but if I couldn't see nothing, I'd be kind of bothered. But I remember that. But then I fast forward, you talk about progression and seeing people change. Corner her against, what was her name? I was cornered so many goofy fights. The girl she lost to in Houston, which I thought was the biggest robbery ever.
Yeah,
I agree.
The
mouthpiece thing,
I was
all the
so
shit.
mad. I felt that paperwork to challenge it.
Yeah.
The TDLR, I love Texas, but their boxing commission is straight up jerks to deal with. If you ever want to get really mad, just deal with the TDLR about licensing or about trying to get things looked at. They're hard to deal with. But I thought she won that fight, but you watch this girl who was blonde who could barely get to the boxing ring. You know what I'm saying? That's why I looked. She was a young girl, and now she's this, say what you want. She's dropped a couple, and I think she's got the talent to really be there. But she's fighting in the premier MMA fighting organization in the world, and she barely lost to JoJo Calderwood, and JoJo Calderwood got a world title. So that's how good she is at that weight class. And I love Andrea. She's always been really sweet. I knew her when she was young, and then we got to get her down in Lafayette a little bit and train. I think she's out in California at MMA Gold now, which is a good spot for her. Jim West, they're good people. Aspen Ladd, I got to work with her in Houston. And I've been doing jiu-jitsu and grappling a long time. I've wrestled a lot. I've never had, and I don't want it to sound sexy, but I've never had a female that strong grab me in my life.
No, that's when
When he said grapple lightly with her, it became an all-out match because I could not get her off my back for a while. She's a monster, dude. She's a very sweet girl. She's very nice. If you talk to her outside, she's kind of quiet, but but she's out there with Aspen Ladd, and I think Aspen Ladd will fight for a world title. I think it's good for Andrew to be around her. It's a good camp for them.
Yeah, I'd like to see her in something and stay in it for a little while and see what comes of it. You know what I mean? It's been
stay at one camp.
Yeah, right. And I just know there's been issues with that because of the personal life for so long and all the shit that's happened. I'm just proud of her to be able to persevere through all that shit and still be on top.
I'm not going to lie and act like I've been there. I've been at the cusp of that before, and then I fought some guys who are really good. But Andrew got on she was on a run for a while, and it's hard. When you start getting the money, and I'm not talking about just her. I'm talking about any of these fighters that start making some decent money. You want to travel, go out to this camp. You want to travel, go out to this camp. Yeah. But when all said and done, you got to get somewhere, get on the same page with the coach. This is a way more of a game now. This is a chess match now, and I think it'll help her. Jim West has got a great mind. He's good.
Well, and you know this too. Both of you know this. You have to align with your students.
That's right.
If it's not a good fit, don't stay there.
That's right.
Move on.
That's right.
Exactly right.
They're eating. I don't care if It is what
it fits everywhere. There's
right.
There's different styles that people react to. I know guys that need people to slap them in the face right before they fight, and they got this warrior thing. Yeah. If you do that and you're my corner man, me and you're gonna. I don't want you to slap me. I know this. I know this is real. I'm about to get hit in a minute, so just leave my face alone. But different styles. I've had guys that Tim Crater has literally talked trash to me throughout the whole fight while I was fighting. There's just different coaches that work for different people.
Now look, I've got to intervene. I was at this past weekend. at Gladiators in Lafayette.
Yeah.
Where a Coach Christian was coaching his son Maddox, one of my favorite jiu-jitsu guys in the world. And in the middle of the match, Coach Christian is out there going, "Oh, you were yelling something jiu-jitsu at him," and he looked right at you after taking the kids back and went, "I'm trying my best."
And when you see your little you out there, you just want them to get everybody. And it's like, I feel like I've never watched a jiu-jitsu match. I'm like grabbing people beside me. But that's been a fun thing to watch too. Is that like you're watching your kids come up now, and that's what he said, "Dad, and he's not a very big kid. Dad, I want to play in the NFL, or I want to be a fighter." I was like, "Well, son, knowing your genetics, you'll probably have to be a fighter. You know,
that's in the plan for him.
Yeah,
well,
it's gonna be big.
Well, and it's great to see that, and because back then you didn't have any children. I think you had your that's your first one.
About to have my first one.
Yeah, and then your kids have been growing up in it the whole time, and it's how does that feel to see that like.
His son, my nephew Aiden, he's a great kid. I don't know where he gets it because he's 6'2", and he's real athletic, and
he gets it from his dad.
Yeah,
What I can tell you about this is
martial artist too.
As cool as you think it is going through these things and these trials and finding an instructor and making friends. I heard from several friends of mine that had kids in the game. They were like, "Look, when you get children, it's going to be different. You're going to take things personally, and you're going to want." And I've been blessed because both of my kids must have gotten their athletic ability from their mother. Yeah. They're both driven. They both love what they do, and they're both good at what they do. And so now when I watch them out there, that is absolutely the most proud I think I've ever been, is watching my kids compete at anything. Yeah. But knowing that they're doing the art that you love, or they're down there, or nothing makes me happier than when my son and my daughter, when they're not working at the school now full time, when they go down to Lafayette and they get to hang out with their uncle and they get to say, "Dad, we did this and we did that. And we had a great time with Uncle Christian and all this stuff." And they come back and they bring it to our school. Yeah. I mean, it's the coolest thing. Besides having children and being married, I think to my wife, it is the coolest thing I've ever been a part of. Yeah. Watching my kids grow up in the art.
You can't explain that to someone, but a lot of parents make their kids do things because they didn't get to do it.
Yeah.
But your kids, both of your guys' kids, are enjoying things that you enjoy, and they actually enjoy it.
Well, let me just tell you this, DJ. I agree with what you're saying, but I was the jerk because I owned the school. I worked at night, and my son, a couple years, Madeline's never said she wanted to play sports. She played softball before we started the school, and then she was good at it. But she's like, I want to do this. Aiden has expressed interest in doing other things, and because my brother's dad was never around, and I say my brother's dad because I don't claim him, but was never around to see me compete and to see you do your thing. I told my son, "Listen, if you're going to play basketball, we're going to practice. But if you're going to play basketball, I got to find somebody to run the school, son, because I'm not missing a game."
Yeah.
And he went, "Well, Dad, if that means that much," no, it does. But I want you to understand, if that's what you're going to do, we're not going to try it. I've got to make time to go and do that. So I was the jerk parent. That's kind of gone away though now. And now my 15-year-old son and my 19-year-old daughter, we have conversations at lunch about our students. We have conversations at lunch about techniques. We have conversations at lunch. Dad, when Uncle Christian comes back up again and we spar, he hit me with a jab. I'm not letting him hit me this time. And it's like, dude, that's to me. I mean, that's some of the best conversations that I have is with those. And now I've got a whole nother set of kids, and I know you're probably getting the same way, that are all 5, 6, 7, 8. They don't want to see Mr. Fulgium. They want to see Aiden, or they want to see Madeline. They want to train with those guys. And I'm like, it's cool.
It's generations.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just, I don't know. It's cool to see all that, man. It's cool because I've known you guys so long, and to see what y'all done in the sport and just the whole martial arts as a whole. It's just. It's hard for someone to stay on track that long.
Well, we were so fringe then.
Yeah. That's what it is.
You respect it because it was, like that song Country before, or it was Country when country wasn't cool.
Yeah, right.
And that's basically what it was. I remember my own mom thought that. I mean, it's almost like you're in a garage, you're training with these men, you want to fight each other, and it's almost like it had like an underground persona to it. To people that didn't understand it was a sport to us, it bettered us, it put us in better shape. We weren't a bunch of evil guys. There were some guys that did bad stuff every now and then, but it wasn't really a bunch of evil guys. It was kind of a brotherhood with some women mixed in there. Yeah. And now it's so mainstream.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
But And that's where I am. I'll always be, I remember at that point. I remember that you didn't do it to put stuff on Instagram about it. You showed up to a garage. You showed up to a garage where Mark Peters and Brent Mason, Justin Strada were about to beat you senseless. Yeah. But nobody was taking pictures of it. Like you didn't. No. There wasn't like, hey man, I got a black eye, and I did. And I think that's why. Like you respect that time so much, and I do too. And coming up, like in the very beginning part of the game, is that those guys were in it because they loved it and they liked to do it, and like those are some serious dudes. And now I feel like a lot of people do it, but you'll even see guys that fight sometimes on these cards. Though I think AKA does a good job, but then again, I coach people in Mississippi, I coach people in Alabama and Florida. I've seen some organizations that a lot of guys they don't have much skill at all. It's just they want to.
They get thrown in there too.
Well, but I see some of them guys in there and they're doing interviews with people. They got a posse and they ain't got no skill. It's crazy to me, but it's like they're taking their video and they're walking out. I got guys that are dancing and walking out, can't fight to save their life. And I was like, that's become the Facebook, the social media, I guess, part of it. It's kind of weird to me. I know that's how you promote. I know that's how people get out there, but a lot of people just seem kind of fake.
There's a fine line, but at the end of the day, when you get in when that door closes, are those ropes even out?
Yeah,
exactly. You know what I mean? Like
I can tell you from my point of view, when that all was going on, I had just lost my job working for our wonderful local school system, and at 35 years old I had to figure out what I was going to do. Mm-hmm. And I found a group of people that accepted me. Mm-hmm. I was a traditional martial artist. I knew Donnie when he was younger. I didn't know any of you, or I knew you of course, but didn't know any of you guys. And when I walked in, the first time I ever walked in, when the funk hit me in the face, I was like, oh my Lord. But after I walked in, after that, it was, I found a group of people that just wanted to come and train, get beat on at the same time, hugs and hand pounds, respect you. And I thought to myself, this is a great place to be as a traditional martial artist, to be at this place and to know that you guys are all getting better. You all kind of share the same goal. You accepted me, and I thought, man, this is really cool. And to this day, there are still a lot of things that I will go through in my school, my dojang right now, that I will say, I know for a fact this works, and I can tell you why, and I can tell you who it worked on, and I can tell you who showed it to me. And if you don't believe me, call them. Yeah, right? Sure. So that's where I learned a lot. I learned a lot of what I do now, boxing-wise, at that place.
Well, I like, too, that we have seen, to take it back to, we talk about the old school, what we were doing, we've seen a change in the stylistic matchups in the game. And you see traditional martial arts being implemented into MMA now. And remember when it first started, they were like, this shit's not going to work.
Yeah. I remember thinking, why would you, and my brother's a Tae Kwon Do guy, why would you need to know how to kick when Don Fry was beating people up and taking them down, just using wrestling boxing? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And now, I have an athlete that I get to work with, like AJ, and he's so athletic. But yeah, a lot of traditional martial arts strikes are what he's known for, spinning heel kicks and stuff like that. That is something that I didn't use until the last 4 or 5 years, and I worked a lot with him on how to try to get these, because I feel like in the beginning, traditional martial arts, as far as like karate and Tae Kwon Do and the first UFC, got made to look bad.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people go, well, hey, we don't need those techniques. Mm-hmm. This is all you need. Well, the game evolves. Well, people know how to stuff takedowns now. Mm-hmm. People know how to get back up from the bottom now. People know how to get off the wall now. Well, what you going to do when you stand up? And now it's been, well, you got to work boxing, but you've seen boxers struggle if they can't check leg kicks. Mm-hmm. You've seen kickboxers struggle if they can't get their head off the midline. Mm-hmm. I've also seen Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, which it's hard to mimic, go out there and stand traditionally and beat a lot of people up. Yes. And he was knocked out. People say that by another traditional martial artist, Anthony Pettis, who, those guys. Dustin's not a traditional martial artist. He has a different style, but there's a lot of different ways to get there now, and I think people are seeing that. As far as a coach for me in the last 5 years, that's really opened up. I watch a lot of film on guys, Tae Kwon Do. And in fact, if you want to see some knockouts, go watch some home videos of Tae Kwon Do, because they spar with these little styrofoam ass, and when you hit somebody with a heel of that, they're going to sleep. I don't even know how that's legal.
So that's funny you say that.
To do that.
That's funny you say that, because one day me and Madeline and Melanie were talking, and I think you called or something. I had you on speakerphone, and we were talking to you about one of Madeline's matches. And we were explaining how big the other girl was, and you went, That's effing insane. You guys don't even have weight limits? That's crazy. That's barbaric.
It's wild to me.
And when he said it was barbaric, Melanie, my wife started laughing. This is someone that gets punched in the face for a living, you know?
Kids, like shit.
So,
No, dude, well, another thing, the calf kick, dude. The calf kick.
oh gosh.
It come out of nowhere. Something so simple we could have implemented a decade ago is literally stuffing everyone.
If you go back and watch Henry Cejudo versus Demetrius Johnson, I think.
Yeah.
And when that kind of came in, and then people were talking about drop foot and hitting that nerve, and then you saw guys starting to do it. Those never bothered me as bad. They hurt, right? And the next day, like, they still kind of sore. It was always the oblique kicks that people didn't work a lot because it's straight onto the kneecap, you know. But calf kicks, you're right. They were very. But I also remember people laughing because a guy that I worked with a lot when I first moved down to Lafayette, Josh Artigue too, was watching Eddie Bravo videos, and they thought, this dude's an idiot. He doesn't know anything. It's like. And then I remember watching in leg locks, like heel hooks and straight up.
Those are like the work of the devil. You didn't do those in jiu-jitsu gyms, and now it's like
the top guys in the world are hitting people with these leg locks and stuff. So all that stuff evolves, man. And I don't know. I always tell people, never say never, because that's really how it does. It changes, and you see a lot of different styles. Conor McGregor's got a crazy style.
Yeah. But I mean, look what Dustin did. You know, I mean,
well, I was so proud of him because he's a guy that I'm actually, I can say he's my friend.
Yeah.
I talk to him. I don't try to get him to come out to my gym and try to. I don't. I see what he goes through. Everybody, even at the headquarters, man, can I get a picture with you? So, and dude, he's a really nice dude. But I do get a chance to train with him. I'll call him, or he'll come over and corner my guys and other things to kind of pump them up and stuff. And he's always real helpful. But watching him, how dominant he is, because in that gym we have guys that are very talented. Yeah. And it's not fun to even try to spar him, even when you do have some talent. Sometimes I have to go spar somebody else right afterwards just to make sure see that I'm not.
Make sure you're not
like I just lost 10 minutes to my myself. Spar the guy, and I don't see a way Conor. He was in Dustin's head, and I mean, if he gets mad about it, he told me that the other night when we talked about it. I was like, man, if I'm Conor and I'm looking at it, because I always try to play devil's advocate with my fighter. If I'm watching you, this is how I'm going to beat you. Yeah. And I want you to know that, because that's what their coaches do. Their coaches are watching that. So I always said, listen, I'm going to beat you. I was going to, I'll do the same thing, try to get back in your head. And you saw them trying to negotiate. But from knowing Dustin for a long time, then going toe-to-toe with him and watching in the beginning being a better grappler and almost having like age on him and strength on him, to him just passing me and becoming light years better, he knows he can beat Conor now. Yeah. So the mind games aren't going to work this time. And I think that was the worst fight for Conor to take. He should have went back for the Nate Diaz trilogy. That's an easier fight for him to win. Now Nate's going to be out because Leon Edwards is about to beat his ass. Come on, Leon Edwards is talented. Now he had a bad thing. I'm going to tell you right now, that is the one guy I think can beat Usman. I think he has his tools.
I mean, it's going to be a tough fight for him. I can't go either way. I'm not a fan of either. But as far as Dustin and Conor, man, I think Dustin's got it all day long.
I think so too. And I'm going to tell you right now, I will put this on record with anybody. Anytime I was ever doing an interview or anytime I've been asked about him or anything, you're never going to find a better deep water fighter than him. Yeah. You find me a fighter that's better the third, fourth, and fifth round, and I will challenge that with a lot of footage.
Conor hasn't had to go through that.
No, and if you watch him go through that with Diaz in the fight, he did that. Yes. He faltered in the fourth and fifth. So
it's a boxing match.
If he doesn't get Dustin out in the first 90 seconds to 2 minutes, it's over.
I agree, and that's something that's just the grind, bro. Yeah, the grind.
That's where he gets you in training. Like it's not like he's some invincible force that you couldn't touch him. It's just like once you do touch him, you can't go to that level, and he doesn't stop. It can be 5 minutes into the round, and he's doing the same things. It's the same speed.
You know who I experienced that with? Daniel Cormier, dude.
Oh yeah, he made me feel like a child wrestling one time.
Dude, oh my God, bro. Man, that dude. I went down to Lafayette and trained at UFC gym, and it had to be probably, it was probably 2013 or something like that. And dude, I had just detached my pec tendon. I'd been off for a year, so I hadn't trained in a year. I had rehabbed that, and I had not trained at all. And I got a call from a buddy of mine who's friends with him, and he was like, "Hey, can DC's in town, and he wants to get some sparring in. You want to come down here?" I was like, "Fuck yeah!" Dude, I've never had my ass beat so bad in my entire life. And then after getting my ass beat on 5-minute rounds, just box sparring, just boxing. Then we go hit the ground, and I was just like, dude, I'm not good at any of this shit. I like to hit people, and so
You're right.
It just beat me and literally laid on me. Never felt so much weight in my entire life. I come back to the gym and started back training because I was like, fuck, I gotta get back in shape. And I was in decent shape, but I wasn't like in fight shape. I come back to the gym. And some of our heavyweights there, like Darnell and a couple other people, I was like, dude, you hit like a bitch compared to this dude. And you can't explain that to people until you get in there with someone who's just light years past you.
If it makes you feel any better, I have a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he made me feel like a child wrestling with the big gladiators. And as a guy that, like, obviously he's a little heavier, but it wouldn't matter if he weighed my same. He is that good. And it's cool to watch somebody that came out of Louisiana, though. Dustin to me is the king of Lafayette because he's in Lafayette. He moved back to Lafayette. DC's not, but he's always a really nice guy when he comes through. He's a great spokesman for the sport because he's always, you even see with Stipe, he was getting along with Stipe, towards the end. Like now they're fun. He's going to be a great broadcaster for a long time. But people always looked at his body type and I think kind of sold him short a little bit until he was able to beat Stipe the first time. Because if you look at Daniel Cormier, he looks like somebody's dad that, just has a loud mouth. But I'll never forget that the 5 minutes I had to wrestle him, I just couldn't stay on my feet. He was just taking me on and off my feet like nothing I could do about it.
Yeah, we never even did any MMA sparring, man. We just did straight up boxing and then went to the ground because, he was just getting some rounds in. But it was amazing because that was before he had the title.
Yeah.
Then I got to go see him fight Gustafson in Houston. And to be able, and you know this because you experienced this, and you have too because you've trained with the other guys who are now in the UFC and stuff. To see that person that you got in there grinded with, no matter if you were sucked or if they're good,
for sure,
keep achieving these and surpassing these goals. It's hard to explain, but it's
that's
just like
why I'll always, whether it's 8:30 in the morning, I'm telling my private client to be still for a second. I got to watch Danger fight.
Yeah.
Or I got to watch Dustin fight. Whatever we're doing, we were at a wedding one time, and my wife saw me off to the side, and I'm watching it on. I was at Matt Schnell's wedding reception, and he did the same thing. We watched Dustin fight. So there's certain people that I'm always going to watch fight. Another guy I'm a fan of, I don't even think he knows this. I see him at all the fights. I talk to him all the time. Kurt Hollabaugh, I love how he fights. He fights for the XFC. I will find a way to watch his fight. It doesn't matter where I'm at. I'll watch the fight. I've watched a fight in a movie theater before while my kids are watching a movie and I'm watching.
I watched it at dance recital. I watched Danger fight. It was one of the midday fights or some shit. I was like, they're like, what are you doing? I was like, man, don't worry.
Listen,
and then I'm always going to send Danger a text message just degrading him.
Good
job at
your hair looked terrible. He talked shit on you yesterday. Did you see his comment? He commented on Instagram. He said, no amount of Photoshop can fix your farmer's tent.
Look, I'll tell you.
I love him,
I'll tell you two things. Two things on this. Number one, when we were going on our first RV trip. We were taking our big 2019 trip. The truck was breaking down in Longview. Andrea was fighting. We pulled over to watch Andrea's fight. The truck is smoking. We think it's on fire, but we're watching that fight. That's the way it goes. That's number one. Number two, the first time I ever met Dustin was at one of your fights, and you built it up, man. You had, this guy's the hardest hitting dude in my life. And this guy's, he's in this, that. And so you introduced me to him, say, hey, this is my older brother, Marshall. Marshall, this is Dustin. And he stuck his hand out, and I said, hello, sir, how you doing? And he said, you're Christian's brother. And I said, yes, sir. And he said, come here, man, I'm sorry. They give you a big old...
He talks some trash, too.
From then on out, dude.
He's hilarious.
I watch him fight every time, bro.
People don't know is that is one of funny individuals.
Yeah.
Really?
People, I don't know if he just doesn't do it at certain times or he doesn't want that persona because a lot of people just think he's serious all the time.
Yeah.
But he's hilarious. He can do every Michael Jackson dance move too. He's a funny dude, bro. He's a funny guy.
I've never got a chance. I met him in passing years ago
awesome.
when we were in the but he's
if he wasn't in, I would still be friends. He's a special dude, man. He's a good guy
For sure.
Well, man, it's been good catching up today. Is there anything? So you're planning on fighting soon.
Yeah.
You don't know when or where yet.
Well, okay, I do know where. I do know when.
Okay.
It'll be July 23rd for bare knuckle boxing.
Okay.
My
Okay,
problem
well, you
is
heard it here.
my problem is we're still quite a ways away. We're trying to find a good opponent. I've asked for a couple guys. I mean, if Melvin Gilliard wants to get it, he can sign a contract. But
Dude, that'd be good.
if it turns out to be somebody else, I'll be ready for July 23rd. It's something I've always wanted to do, fight a pro boxing match. You talk about grappling. I don't want to wrestle all Americans anymore, for fights. But I would definitely 5-2s with a minute break. Man, let's get it.
Dude,
it's a
I
little
know, right?
It's a little bit of superficial superficial blood damage, but it'll be easier on the knees for sure. And I don't know. I'm excited, man. For the first time, like going back into training in the last few months, like coming back to it, I was on the edge of doing it. They asked me a couple times to do it, and I just, you get the juices flowing, and you start feeling like, man, I can do this. You're starting to feel better. You're starting to get in better shape, and I'm excited.
Yeah, I think it's taken off. I think bare knuckles taken off, and I'm excited about it because it's what UFC was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Everyone's scared of it and talking shit and kind of like, don't know how to feel about it, and they're not, it's not in every state yet.
That's right.
But it's a well-respected sport because you can have people like who maybe don't want to do MMA anymore, who are still really great strikers.
Right. Yeah, and
who can get in, like Levin and Quentin, like, holy shit. Like, I thought Levin was done.
I thought that was a great thing for, even though it didn't go his way, I got much respect for Quentin Henry.
too,
very
man.
heavy-handed guy. And, if you watch him, he's got the mullet, he's got the sunglasses, American. To me, like, that guy, because he does have the talent to be there, too, like, he's primed for that. He's kind of like the Sergeant Slaughter of G.I. Joe. You know what I'm saying? But, I think it's a good look for him. I don't know if he goes back to MMA. I think his weight's better where he is. If I was him, because I'm a fan of his. Anybody from Louisiana, man, I watch him.
Me too.
I always try to keep track of him. I think it's a good sport for him. He could do MMA.
I know he's ready.
I think he could make money.
No, I know he's ready for another bare knuckle fight. We talked about it. I know he's ready. He's calling them out, saying, "Let's do it." And it's exciting to hear you're getting in that world because I've met a few people in it already, and I see some people transitioning into it, and that's a whole other fucking ball game, dude.
Yeah.
And you get the clinch game's different in that too, which is exciting because if you have MMA experience,
I think I'm better off suited for that. I think I'm better off suited for dirty boxing. It depends on who you get matched up. Melvin's obviously going to have or guys like that of that caliber. I think there's a lot of guys in there that you'll see that do well. I will tell you this: the first 2 minutes, because it is a 2-minute round, it looks like a gosh darn firefight. Like, being realistic, I'm new coming into this sport. I've practiced it a long time. I've competed in a sport where you use that, but it's different, and it looks like a firefight for 2 minutes, and then they try to start boxing a little more. But we'll be ready for that, man. I'm excited. I got good guys in my camp. I'll get out and train a little bit. I'll get out to Houston and train with Danger. I'll get up here and train with Brent a little bit too. I'll be excited to get back in Shreveport. I get to see my family when I come back up here and train.
Yeah.
So I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
I'm excited for that, dude. I can't wait.
But AKA fights
Tonight,
man. Big fights.
Yep, tonight.
AJ Fletcher stays undefeated. I know they're fighting a 515 area code, 515 gym guy here.
Yeah.
I'll be messing with Brent a little bit. I know he's buddies with them. But much respect to him. And then Justice, I forget exactly who Justice fight. Justice Lamprez. He's a guy that fights for us. He's like 4-3. But he's one of the most fun 4-3 fighters to watch because he brings
I've seen him fight several times,
and he's going to hit. He's not the most knockout guy, but it's every fight he has is bloody.
Yeah,
I like his style.
I love his style.
It's gonna be a stack card, man. I'm excited about it. And dude, like I said, I'm glad to be here. Glad to see you because we haven't caught up in years. And Marshall, I love you, and we get to see each other all the time. Sometimes you're probably tired of seeing me, but I'm glad for us to be able to come together and talk about all this because it's been needing to happen.
That's right, man.
And man, any last thoughts? Any plugs besides we hope to see you fight July? Was it 23rd?
July
23rd, bare knuckle.
I just want to say May 8th, I'll be testing for 6th degree. And then for those guys that are not in the whole Taekwondo game, it's been a long time coming. I'm old and fat, but I'm going to get out there and do my best. But I do want to say that I'm 110% proud of you, my friend, for keeping this going.
Yeah, it's been going for a while, man.
I appreciate it, man.
And I am proud of my brother. I tell you, I don't say this a lot. I love him. He's a world-class martial artist, a world-class uncle, world-class brother-in-law.
Oh, I
and
appreciate it.
brother, I'm still mama's favorite son. But I'm proud of what you do, man. And we got to do this again one day for sure.
Like I said, I appreciate you having me.
Hell yeah, dude.
We're up here for fights, and it's good to be able to come talk about fights and guys that I've been around. But man, I'm proud of you too, man. It is one of those things that I honestly, to tell you the truth, before I leave you alone, podcasting is definitely something I I thought about doing. So much respect for you for going out there, getting
appreciate
it done,
it, man.
and
Thanks.
keeping it going, because it's hard. It's work. It's a lot more work than what people think.
Yeah,
that
people
it
don't
is.
realize this.
No, they
this
don't
is.
realize
It's going. It takes about 4 hours after I get done with this to do everything else before it gets out. You know what I mean? It's just.
That's
It's just
right.
time, man. But if
But
you
that's-
enjoy it and you're,
that's good,
We
man.
have good people like you
That's right.
sharing information that people give a shit about. You know what I mean? That's all I care about.
When do we get frequency interrupted?
Man, I'm working on that, man.
Okay,
I'm
all right.
working on that.
I'm
I'm
ready.
working on that. I'm gonna send every. I'm gonna
Sign
send
me up.
Yes.
I'm gonna send every past guest some shirts and shit. I'm working on that,
Okay.
man. This thing makes no money yet. So.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you.
Keep going. So what are you on? So
Dude, I'm on everything. I mean, you can, everyone can listen to this on everything. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts,
Nice.
YouTube, Facebook. So just on everything.
Dang,
But
that's some work.
we'll get it out soon. And
Well, I appreciate you having me, man.
thank you all for coming here. Everyone, please subscribe to the podcast.